Hey Mo, hey PT, ready to do it? Indeed. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Welcome to the epic, the sardonic, the titillating Best Fit Square!
Hey folks, welcome back to Best Fit Square Show. I'm your host, Manuel Ortega. In this episode, we explore how in post-Civil War America, freed slaves were targeted for re-enslavement. Here to help us better understand is our very own in-house scholar, PT. Hey PT! Hey Mo! In our previous episode, PT, you helped us better understand how law proved to be an effective tool to control freed slaves. Indeed. Let's consider 3 required elements to produce law: perception, consumers, and beneficiaries. Okay, think of perception as a fictional reality, think of law as a product in this fictional reality, and think of consumers as the target of these products. Hey, what about your so-called beneficiaries? Oh, right. Think of the beneficiary as the audience of this fictional reality. So you're proposing law is a product which addresses a fabricated need to attain a desired result? Correct. A false narrative is promoted to provoke a desired response to trigger an action to produce a desired result. For example, African Americans are thugs, an irrefutable fictional reality. Contempt for African Americans is the desired response of this fictional reality. Punitive laws is the action triggered, and mass imprisonment the desired result. And voila, the for-profit prison industrial complex is born. Gotcha. From your perspective, then, who are the consumers and who is the audience? In the United States, the consumers are non-whites. Non-whites face marginalization, disenfranchisement, and criminalization. The whiter one's skin is, the less likely one suffers this abuse. The darker one's skin is, the more likely one suffers this abuse. You posit African Americans suffer disproportionately from marginalization, disenfranchisement, and criminalization. Indeed, from the 1890s through the first 4 decades of the 20th century, black criminality was one of the most commonly cited and longest-lasting justifications for black inequality and mortality in the modern urban world. Interesting you should bring this up. Just the other day, I came across a paper published in the New York Medical Journal in 1886, in which a physician wrote blacks were, and I quote here, naturally intemperate, prone to indulging every appetite too freely, whether for food, drink, tobacco, or sensual pleasures, and sometimes to such an extent as to appear more a brute than human. So much for professional journals of the day, huh, Mo? Indeed. This is baseless, inflammatory, and worse, insidious. Insidious with a capital I. Before emancipation, enslaved blacks were rarely lynched because whites were loath to destroy their own property. But after the Civil War, the number of lynchings rose, then remarkably persisted at a high level until the Second World War, and astonishingly not ceasing until the Civil Rights Movement in the 1960s. Black codes and Jim Crow are irrefutable evidence of law enacted and implemented to re-enslave African Americans and benefit whites. Correct. W.E.B. Du Bois in a talk said, "The first and greatest step towards the settlement of the present friction between the races, commonly called the Negro problem, lies in the correction of the immorality, crime, and laziness among the Negroes themselves, which still remains a heritage from slavery." This is wrong on so many levels. Blaming the victims of terrorism is obscene, vicious, and noxious. With this construct, Du Bois does not condemn the whites for their violence. Du Bois does not call on whites to end their acts of terrorism. Instead, Du Bois holds blacks responsible for the barbarism they suffer and assigns the responsibility to curb white violence on African Americans, the very victims of white terrorism, following the American tradition of condemning, criminalizing, and murdering blacks. Exactly. Marcus Garvey, Martin Luther King, Fred Hampton, Harriet Tubman, Frederick Douglass. Indeed, Frederick Douglass would tell his audiences, "I appear before you this evening as a thief and a robber. I stole this head, these limbs, this body from my master, and ran off with them." Well, legally speaking, he was right. Just saying.